this one. I think I was versus Sylas that game. Um, and then if we scroll up above that one, there's a Vex game, 7, 6, and 9. I believe. Yeah, yeah, that one.
Hmm.
Um, Even though we won, it felt like I might have played incorrectly. Um, we only won because Alawi essentially 1v9'd.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
Yeah, alright, well let's start with the Syndra one, and then, if we have time, we'll take a look at the Vex one.
okay, thank you.
Okay, so
How's your
this,
day been?
um, very tired. Last night I did the PCS cast, the Pacific Championship Series, and it starts at 10 p.m. my time, and I get home at 5 a.m. my time, so yeah,
Wow, that is late
it is kind of
or
bad
early.
hours, which is annoying, but, it happens. But, alright, what do we got here? So we got Syndra versus Sylas coaching. I think this is the third time I've coached this matchup, actually. Okay, so first thing I would be thinking, straight off the bat is that normally if you're taking Electrocute on Syndra, you want to take TP. So there's kind of a few setups. Let's talk about like runes slash items for Syndra. I think it's like you can go like Electrocute plus Ignite, and that gives you really strong burst at level 6. It's really good for snowballing the early game. And then like
Mhm.
there's your full scaling option, which is like TP plus tier plus first strike. So that's like if you don't really want to play for laning phase, you really want to play towards those two items. I think this is pretty strong, but I do think it's a little scary to run this in solo queue because it's like, you are relying on your teammates not to lose before you're relevant, which is honestly like even in high challenger, it still gets successful. Like I think Nemesis runs this quite a lot, but personally, I much prefer something stronger early. And then your other option is something like Airy slash Comet plus TP, and that's more for like, I'd say this is more for like difficult matchups where it's like, it's going to be a lot of trading back and forth. You really need a lot of early power, but you also need TP for the poke. So like examples would be something like, I'd say like a Zir, Victor, that sort of stuff. Maybe Ori, just like there's lots of poke back and forth. I think Electrocute Ignite, I'd say like versus any melee pretty much um, or like easy range matchups. And then I'd probably go for yeah, I'd probably go for the last one here against like I don't know, versus like tanks slash things you can't punish in lane at all. Like an example might be something like what's an example? Just like Zac mid set. You could go versus Galio if you wanted, just that sort of stuff. Because I think this setup here doesn't really make sense. This is like definitely an electrocute ignite matchup, so you're definitely gonna be a little weaker early here than you would like. Second thing is that Syndra doesn't really need mana flow, so just Syndra has so much mana sustain that you actually don't need it, which is kind of crazy because there's not many other mid champs or at least AP mages that can get away with that. So I'd probably swap that to either there's options. You can go Transcendence, obviously. You can go Absolute Focus if you want to just like get more APs. I think also swap mana flow to something else. Now if you're verse the last thing you've got is Gathering Storm. So Gathering Storm obviously is really good on Cinder because it synergizes with the passive. But I think if you're going to run Electrocute Ignite versus melee, you're probably better off taking Scorch because it's a lot easier for you to proc Scorch on melee champs, right? Like because you're always going to have access to hitting them. So I'd probably
Right.
say like, what is this? Transcendence slash Absolute Focus. And then the last thing would be to first melee, swap, gathering to Scorch. And I think that all this stuff, it like makes a small difference. Like it's obviously not the end of the world, but the good thing about it is it's really easy to change, right? Like you can just change the setup and then it's gonna be good.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm playing the matchup incorrectly, but I'm like really scared of Silas, especially at the level 1 where he can like all in me and out trade me.
Yeah, okay, you
I see so
definitely
many
don't need to be
Silases.
scared. Like
Okay.
Sylas has really good gank setup, but in terms of just like actual laning, he's not very strong. Like you're right, you do have to be careful of getting chained. But if you position correctly level 1, that shouldn't happen. And then once you're level 2, as long as you save your E, you can pretty much always just get Sylas off you. Like even if you don't hit the stun, you can just like knock him back so that he can't keep hitting you. Um, so yeah, like you should never really have any trouble. Like, yeah, I'd
Okay,
say this
maybe
is
you
like
can.
way too far back. This is like, I think you can be kind of like looking to, you should be the one getting pushed in this matchup. You can be like right here. If he ease onto you, as long as you fight in the creep wave, you should win it. And you can be like, starting to look for auto attacks and Qs on him. Because yeah, right now you're basically just giving a champion that is like very weak in lane, just a free lane. Like normally the way Sylas works is that he is expected to fall, not like super behind, but is expected to fall a little bit behind in lane. But he makes up for it because he has like really strong skirmishing. Like there's stuff like Akali is sort of similar. And Syndra, it's like most mages early are very strong 1v1, but don't have great skirmishing until they finish like first item, or at least until they have like lost chapter Sork shoes. So here it's like you're not really abusing what your champion wants to do a whole lot. And I think, by the way, when you like give him kind of pressure like this, and he is the one pushing into you, it means you have less minions to hide behind. Like I can see at this point, like yeah, now you actually do need to be kind of scared because all you have is these three creep to hide behind. Like if he ease into you and you don't have Q, you are just going to lose the trade. And the way that you're meant to win this trade is by being pushing into him. Having more creeps in him so that if he fights you, you're still going to win. And obviously,
Okay.
yeah, just having more creeps to hide behind.
Does this apply to every melee matchup? Because there's like I've seen Yasuo
Hmm.
start E and then
Yeah.
just dash through all the minions, and then just like I can't hit him with like my abilities.
Yeah, I
Maybe I
think
just like suck.
no, I think Yasuo and Aurelia are probably two melees that are strong like very early in the game because most melees they kind of weak at least levels 1 to 3 and then oftentimes weak before level 6 as well. But yeah, Yasuo and Aurelia can both start trading pretty early. And versus those champs, your game plan is definitely different. Like I think what you're doing here, where you have the wave in like this situation, like on your side of the lane, that's really good versus those champs. But here it just kind of feels like you're giving a free pass to a champion that, yeah, doesn't really deserve it, honestly. Yeah,
Okay.
and you're kind of like denying yourself a lot of CS. So I think we're gonna have to take a look at, I guess like so far, maybe we can look at a VOD after if I can find one, or maybe after the session I'll link you one of mine. Um, Actually, let me check that real quick. Let me go videos. I think I might have a Syndra vs Sylas example here somewhere. Syndra vs Mouse Vex. Don't have one off the top of my head. I'll see if I can find one and send it to you later. But I think so far, like 3 waves or the first 3 waves are really important. And in pretty much almost every matchup as Syndra, you would want to like 3-wave crash or 2-wave crash, and that's because it's gonna give you like level 2 first, give you level 3 first. Obviously, you have more creeps, so it's just gonna be like way better for trading overall. And then like yeah, maybe the exception would be like Aurelia slash Yasuo. They're very strong, super early into the game, so you kind of have to honestly just kind of do what you're doing here.
Okay, so into like something like Silas, like
Hmm.
right off the start, I should be autoing the creeps, and
Yeah,
then
it's
even if he, like, you're confident that even if he dashes into me at level 1, like I'll win it.
yeah. I think if he manages to hit E2 on you, it's like he is probably gonna at least trade evenly because the best you're gonna trade is probably like what 2 autos on the way out, the creep autos, and then a Q. But I don't think he should just like get a free E2 on you. Like he might, but it should come at the cost of something. I think it's like yeah, he should be taking constant autos. You can make it really hard for him to hit it if you're playing like within all the creeps. So yeah, it's like maybe there's like a 30% chance that he hits you with an E2, but it's definitely not guaranteed. And you definitely like don't need to give like super respect to him.
Okay.
So here would be like another sort of thing that you need to think about. So cooldowns obviously for lane are like really important. So if you know at level 1 here, you've got 7 seconds on Q, he's got 13 seconds on E. So if you trade cooldowns, you're gonna have like a really large window where you have cooldowns and he doesn't. So like right here, sure, you've given up pressure, but right here, you guys just traded cooldowns. So you know that when your Q is up, he will not have anything. And what you can do is you can look to like either walk forward and just like go for a free Q on him. You can even look for autos during this time because he just has no way to punish. Especially if you're level 1 versus level 2, you can like really look to hard punish here. But the problem is, like if you just look, this whole window of him having no E isn't punished at all. Like there's just like no punish onto it. And obviously it's like a bit more difficult because the wave is sort of coming to your side. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like you're playing a champ that, sure, Syndra isn't as strong early game as she used to be, but she's still definitely stronger than Sylas.
Okay. Would you still have auto there? Because if I auto there, won't all the minions look at me and then I'll like lose the trade anyways?
I mean, you can just like do like one Q auto and walk away, right? Like as long as you walk away instantly, you're probably only gonna take, say, 30 damage from the creeps. Like let's have a look. So yeah, like this auto is fine. And then I think like right here, maybe you look on this creep here. He has W but doesn't have E. Like I think a Q auto for that one would probably be fine. You would have to be like very aware of the exact E cooldown. Is there another window here? Let's actually see. There might be one before that. Like, yeah, I think if you're really aggressive, actually, you probably want to look for a Q auto on this creep. Like, you can be playing up here, CS it from there and look for the Q auto. So I think there's definitely windows here for you to punish that just aren't really taken. But, like, 100%, you make it a lot more difficult for yourself if you let him get the push.
Into a champion with D shield, would you still would you still say autoing is like good? Because autoing against D shield just like lets them heal and it does less damage. I
Um,
guess it's like
I think it depends like which champion you're actually against, because like if you're against a D shield champ, sometimes autoing is really, really important because that's the only way to kind of keep them low enough that you might have threat onto them. Like if we're talking D shield like a Kali or Zed, like yeah, I would definitely say autoing them is worth it. Because you are going to be able to get those champions low and potentially in kill range. Against like something like Aurelia, you don't really have kill threat anyway, unless she messes up, so you're probably just looking to play defensively, kind of play reactively, not do a whole lot. But I'd say, yeah, generally you should, because one advantage, again, that Syndra has over other mages is that she doesn't really run out of mana. So normally Doran Shield just, you kind of run out of mana before the Doran Shield user runs out of health. But that's not the case for Syndra. You can keep harassing, and because you have that mana regen, it's not going to be too bad at the end. So yeah, I'd say like Syndra breaks a lot of the kind of typical mage fundamentals. It's kind of a overpowered champ at the moment.
do you think Syndra is good for like plat level, low diamond levels like solo queue,
Yeah,
like carrying?
100%. I think Syndra's like pretty good for solo queue.
Okay.
Probably the scariest thing about Syndra is the fact that you don't have mobility, which is like kind of annoying for solo queue, but it's definitely something that you can kind of deal with as long as you position well. Okay, so let's have a look at
I
that.
think okay, there I think I was changing my music or
Oh, okay,
something.
that's fair then.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah,
won't
my
worry about
bad.
that too much. Yeah, I was gonna say like, what are you doing? But okay, that's all good.
Yeah.
So
And
back
then
from
yeah.
music change. Okay, so you have Maokai nearby. So I think here you want to play. I think here you can look to play more aggressive. So after you come back, like he is about to hit level 4, but like you have Maokai in the area. So as long as you like trade from down here, you can maybe bait something. Like if he E's onto you here and Maokai is nearby, he's probably gonna die for it. So yeah, I think like right here, you can honestly just be looking to start Q and like trading on him. Try and get his E. Because I think opening with W like that is sort of risky. Because I think if you open with W from this, or sorry, with E, the stun from this far away is like one, if he gets stunned, Maokai might just be out of range. And if it doesn't, like he can just E away. So I think you're really trying to bait out his E here. I think, yeah, he's just going to escape. So I think that might have been a gank opportunity if you just played it a little bit better, like really try and bait your opponent into something. Let's have a look at this. I think it's still giving up like way too much respect in my mind. Like you have this big creep wave, like you're still full HP, and he's just zoning you off the wave, which shouldn't really be the case. Like if you play like right here, for example, right? If he ease into you, you can always move right behind the creep wave, so you're always going to be fine from that. And I think if you get hit by E2, you are going to lose a trade. But like you have your E to cancel. You can even just knock him back. You have this full creep wave to play into. So there should be ways for you to just like keep playing aggressively here. But instead it's like, he's the one using autos to CS and you're the one using abilities to CS. Like that always feels really bad because when you get to the point when you're forced to use abilities to CS, that kind of means you've lost the lane. Because what happens is like every time you use that ability to get a CS, like you're on cooldown and then you can be punished for that, or you just don't get to punish your opponent because you don't have any cooldowns up, right? So
Yeah, I
You're trying to
noticed that.
force your opponent into that position. Like normally you would see like the melee champ is the one that's kind of forced to CS with Q or something, while the range champ just gets to CS with orders. So that's another thing is like cooldowns, like very important, just like for the whole lane to punish cooldowns, also to like respect your own cooldowns. But and I think like yeah, be like really try not to waste cooldowns. And as like a general rule, don't CS with abilities. Obviously, it's like, if it's a cannon and you're gonna miss it, or it's just a creep that you're gonna miss, you can queue it. It's just, I guess bear in mind that it's not as free as you think. It's like a 7-second cooldown. You're very punishable. You're giving your opponent more breathing room. Like it definitely comes at a pretty significant cost. Okay, it's got Maokai nearby again. Like, yeah, I think that's more like it. Like, this kind of thing right here is I think you feel like a little bit emboldened because Maokai's nearby. But this is what you'd more expect. You're in like a position here to where if he walks up for this, he's going to take damage. And instead, he is forced to Q to CS. So you kind of want that more and more. And then whenever they do decide, okay, they're going to use a cooldown to CS, that means now you can look to punish the cooldown. So when this guy walks up like this, the fact that he didn't get punished there is really, really weird. Because it's like, let's see. So, okay, right here, good positioning. You bait out the Q. But now, like, he doesn't have anything, and you have everything. He should take a lot of damage for this. Because if he goes onto you, he won't have all his cooldowns. So it's not going to do as much damage, like, as you think. In fact, he's probably just not going to go at all. So this should be like a QE plus auto, and maybe W on the way out. And that's like, procs electrocute does at least 200 damage. Instead, he just, like, gets away with it again.
Okay, I see. Okay, yeah, I need to be playing on cooldowns and minions a little bit better. Also, okay, I'll talk about it after this. Um, it's something with electrocute and Syndra that
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed. Uh, for some reason, when I Q and E, it procs electrocute, but I don't even put in like a third anything.
Yeah,
It's just like proc.
I've seen that as well. I'm honestly not too sure why that's the case. I think the reason is that E, I'm pretty sure, counts as two parts of damage. Like, there's the actual E knockback, and then there's, like, the sphere hitting them as well. At least that's, like, kind of my interpretation of it. But, yeah, if I'm honest, I'm not really sure why that's the case. I've just always been like, huh, QE procs electrocute, and that's kind of fine. I think always, though, on Syndra anyway, like, you're pretty much always going to be able to weave in orders anyway. So even if QE didn't, you would be able to proc electrocute most of the time. But yeah, it does feel really good. Okay, so let's kind of see this. I think I mean, from what I can tell, yeah, like, I think you played this pretty well. And I think the reason this isn't a kill is because, one, like, you don't have Ignite. And two, just like you haven't really got him low on HP. Like, by the time this starts, he is on, I'd say, what, like 70% health here? And you can definitely have him just like a little, actually more like 80% health. If even just like taken one better trade in this lane, like this would just be a kill. And suddenly you're in like in a really, really amazing spot. Okay, come drop a ward. Yeah, he's extremely low, so you should be very aggressive. Yeah, this is good. Good positioning.
I think I'm trying to like freeze here to like try to zone him from CS. I actually think I die here. I don't remember to what.
I think you should be a little careful like how in the open you play, but okay, so he uses E. He's kind of screwed himself here. He takes your R. Shouldn't really matter. I think again, like, whenever he uses E, that's like definitely your window to punish, right? Like here, another 13 seconds, that's the only way he can get onto you, especially now that he doesn't have flash. So you should not give him any space here. I know it looks scary because he's, 6 versus your 5, but realistically, he has no way of getting onto you. As long as you play your range correctly, like, he can't get up to you here.
I'll be completely honest. I have no semblance of the mid lane cooldowns.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty normal. I think I kind of talked about it in my cooldowns video just recently,
Yeah,
but something I think, really important you do is like when you're in loading screen, literally just come here and be like, okay, like what is his important ability? I think it's pretty easy for you to work out that it's E. Like that is the way he can get onto you, right? Like it doesn't really matter if these cooldowns are up, if E is down. And if you just look here, like 13 to 9, even just knowing kind of the rough estimate of it is important. Like, obviously, it's sort of hard to know the exact cooldown at all points in the game, but if you can just know, like, okay, you know, when Sylas uses E, I have like a decently long window to do something, and my Q, if I trade Q and E, like he uses E, I use Q, you're gonna have Q up first. That can like allow you a little bit of time to look for something. I think that'll make a big difference if you kind of internalize that. Let's see. So this, you end up getting out. Okay, so the reason this goes bad is because your vision is on top side, right? So that means anything you do here should be on this side of the lane. You should be hugging towards your vision and towards your jungler. But instead, you're like actually hugging towards the side where you don't have any vision. And this is something I'd see come up a lot. So you're definitely not alone here, but really important to hug towards like vision. If you place a ward on top side, that means you're hugging towards top side. Like in general, as long as you place your ward, even if like, let's say Rengar is up here and it can feel scary to hug here, as long as your ward's on top side and you're paying attention to it, you should see Rengar before he gets to mid. But here you're like, you know, clearly hugging the wrong side. And this is pretty insane, by the way, because the only reason you live here is because Rengar is not good at early ganks, basically, right? Like, if this
Yeah,
is
this
any other champ, like, what's meta right now? If this is Sedge, Elise,
Maokai,
yeah, Maokai, like, you're just dead. You're kind of lucky
Udyr,
that it's just a
it's
Rengar.
Rengar. Yeah.
It's still kind of annoying, though, because you lose Flash, and losing Flash to Rengar means at level 6, like, you're gonna be in trouble. He's gonna come mid, pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah, I did notice that I did mess up the vision hugging.
I think he
Also,
maybe,
I
yeah.
feel like we could have killed them there.
Yeah, I think definitely with Ignite, but maybe even without it. I think as soon as you hit level 6, once he walks up like this, I think, yeah, if you, like, stun this guy, he does have W. I'm not sure if he'd actually get killed. But you could, like, kind of get a good chunk on him, which would be good. AC base. Come back, lost chapter. Yeah, very, very strong. Okay. Let's see. You have a pink and you have a ward as well. So I think I probably would have warded right here. Like, I think, you know, clear this and then try get the ward. Because you really, just in general, you don't want to go past, like, this halfway point of mid without any wards. And especially if you don't have flash and you're versus a champ that has gank set up. That's kind of like the worst nightmare. So I'd probably, like, right now,
Yeah.
walk in river, pink that bush probably, and then maybe, like, ward raptors or, like, ward this, or you even ward red if you wanted to. But yeah, I
I
think like
wanted
coming here.
to, but then I saw the wave like start dying, and then like I was told like, oh, you really don't want to lose like CS and XP. So like I was like, okay, for me, this is like a torn thing where it's like you see me like going down, like I cleared the wave and I was like, okay, I should go place a ward.
Hmm.
But then I saw that the wave hit and I would lose, like if I went like for too far for vision, I would lose like XP and minions, right? Like I was scared
Yeah,
of that. Like, would you still lose the XP and minions and go ward instead?
I mean, I think ideally you don't lose anything, right? Like if you still have flash, maybe you do push this wave, but I think pushing the wave without flash is really, really greedy. And I think if you just come here and like pink this and maybe ward a bit shallower, like maybe just ward here over the wall, you're probably only going to miss one creep for it. And I think, you know, making sure you just secure your vision, giving up one CS is completely worth it. Like obviously, you know, if you commit too hard, you end up giving up 3 creeps or something. I'd say that's probably not worth it, but I think you definitely have time to come here and get something. So hopefully you manage to get this wave in. I think you will. Like again, Rengar's not the strongest earliest ganker, so you should probably be okay. I think at this point in the lane, this definitely makes sense to be kind of a bit safer. You know, like you haven't really dealt any damage to Sylas in the early game. You're kind of expecting in a Syndra vs Sylas matchup to base with a pretty significant item advantage, you know. But here,
Mm-hmm.
you actually are just even. And if Sylas is even at this point in the lane, it's definitely scarier. So I kind of understand being a little careful here. I mean, you can see, right, the trade doesn't go too well for you. And that's kind of just because Sylas skipped the stage of the game where he was weak because you didn't punish him for it. And now, like, he's gotten to the point where he's strong. And it's just, yeah, it's difficult for you to trade into him. I think this ward honestly probably doesn't do a whole lot for you. It's a bit annoying because Rengar is a bit unique. Actually, though, even against other junglers, I feel like you only want to go for this pink ward where you're really, really far behind. because, you know, if they just path through here, you can still get ganked. If they path through the river, like, you know, I guess like you would spot someone walking through here, but it still leaves this path open. So I don't really like it that
Yeah.
much. Okay.
I don't like that ward either. I think the only reason I put it there was because yeah, I die here. The only reason I put it there was I saw that my lane was pushing, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna be under tower anyways. Like,
Hmm.
maybe I can put a ward where it's like less likely to be killed, but still like okay for defending my own jungle. Maybe Rengar might not walk in or something. I don't know if my
Hmm.
like thought process for that is wrong. Would you
Yeah,
still have gone for?
I think I'd still go for it just because I think like it's the pink's probably not going to die anytime soon with Maokai in the river. But yeah, I mean, at least you've put some thought into it because I think you're right. Like if you're losing mid priority, it is easy for Sylas to come down and clear it. Again, it's kind of weird because I don't think you should really be losing mid priority, but the reality is like now you're probably going to be able to. And I think as well, like I don't know. For me, the usage of pinks in early game is to mainly like facilitate you to keep playing the game, right? And I think this is like a helpful ward for your team, but it doesn't really do anything for you. It's not going to save you from a Rengar gank. You know, it's not really going to tell you much about what Sylas is doing. So, I don't know. I think, honestly, I'd still probably place it here. At least then it's like, you know, Sylas walks bot one time and he might clear the ward instead of ganking bot. But
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. It's still decent. It's definitely better than nothing. Okay,
Okay.
so this is, again, like coming back to cooldowns, right? Like you need to punish enemy cooldowns and respect your own, because when your own cooldowns are down, that's when they're going to look to punish you. So right here, you get just like a really good trade with the QE. So all you need to do now is try not to trade until your E is back up, right? So all you need to do is
Mhm.
just like be really safe. So it doesn't make sense that you are like walking up to try contest this wave with no E, because like what happens is Sylas is like, okay, the Syndra just does not have E and gets like a massive trade onto you. Even if like you don't, but yeah, I guess here you didn't end up dying. It's still really fucking bad because like, you know, now you're just like forced to base, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
I lose a wave.
this all feels, yeah, it definitely feels like the Syndra early game shouldn't go like this. And I think it'd be, you know, if you improve this, you'll probably find the game to be just a lot easier, because I think you've definitely made things a little difficult for yourself. Okay, so here, I'd probably like, yeah, try and crash this wave. I like how you're just using autos here. Yeah, okay, I don't mind the WQ once it's already gone. Oh, he W'd, so maybe can punish. Yeah, nice.
I got minion blocked.
Yeah, okay, I like this. Now, you do need to be careful again, being this far pushed up with no flash, because you don't have, well, yeah, you don't have flash. I think maybe here, like, you have two wards and a pink. I think, yeah, just, like, try and get more vision down. I'll just write it
Yeah.
down, but, like, generally, if you pass, like, halfway point of mid, you know, this kind of part here, you really need, like, you need solid vision to do so, because otherwise it's just, I mean, even just like a little bit of vision. Like if you have a pink here and a ward here, that's enough. If you went even further, you could go like pink here, ward here. But it might be kind of scary to go into Rengar's jungle, like with Maokai so far away. Alternatively, like maybe you try and like ward for Herald. Like maybe you pink this bush and ward over this wall or something. Like, there's a lot of things you can do here. And I think walking up to tower with no flash is the scariest one of them all.
Give it like 3 seconds.
Yeah, you're dead.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I noticed it after. I was like, I don't know why I'm hitting Sylas here. I wasn't gonna kill
yeah.
him anyways. I didn't even have R.
Yeah, in hindsight, I think it's like really obvious that this is kind of gonna happen. Like, you know, enemy mid has gang set up. You don't have flash. You have no vision. Your jungler's far away. It's like you're basically just, you know, checking all the things that we can do wrong in order to get gang. Admittedly, I think it is quite. I always find it quite difficult to play against like long range ganking champs. You know, like Zac, Rengar, Evelyn. You know, all those things that it's like more difficult to ward against. But you also don't do yourself any favors here, you know, like you do kind of make
Yeah.
it as easy as possible. And yeah, this death is, it's really bad because champions like Sylas, they can't farm at the same rate as you know, like Syndra is a champ that can pretty easily farm 10 CSPM. Sylas though can farm 10 CS, but it's like it's much more difficult, right? Like normally you see Sylas hovering around like the 8 CSPM mark. And so what that means is like if Sylas doesn't pick up kills, you naturally get ahead. On top of that, I think Syndra outscales Sylas anyway. So basically, like, even if you end this lane 0-0, you're winning, I would say, if as long as he doesn't pick up any kills. But you can do better than that. You know, you can end this lane 2-0 or something and have a significant lead. But ending 0-1 and Sylas getting a kill, that feels really, really rough. Okay, come back on the map. Oh god, this guy's Everfrost already. This is gonna be really
Yeah,
rough.
it is really rough.
I think you...
This was a pretty rough game. It's why I chose it, because I
Yeah.
knew I didn't play this game well. And I was just wondering your thoughts on it.
Yeah. What the fuck? Okay,
Yeah,
I don't mind dying to this too much, because I feel like this is kind of hard to expect. And I think also, it's like a little bit like a product again of just like not having the flash. I suppose once Scion Ult is used, maybe you should back up, but I'd be pretty surprised by this. So, yeah. It is rough though. Another kill goes over to Sylas. Okay, let's come back. Okay, now we have the flash up, so we're kind of in a decent spot now. Sylas is top. Okay, yeah, so I would probably say, what I would probably do is I'd look at this and be like, you know, kind of early, decide whether or not you should walk to it. I'd say in general though, if your opponent roams and you have a cannon wave, most of the time you want to look to punish, because with cannon waves, you can get 2 plates, whereas on normal waves, you can pretty much only get 1. So I think, like right here, I'd be thinking like, unless this top play looks really fucking good, I'm going to take 2 plates worth of gold here. You know, like my default would just be push, because I have the cannon wave, so...
My team always pings me and types to me though that I'm not like moving with my mid though. Like when I see my mid up there, they're always like, Syndra's never moving. Like
Yeah, I
that's why
think
we lost.
that's just like what people complain about in solo queue. I don't think there's really, like, let's just ignore the fact that's a cannon wave. I don't think there's any way you get here before this play is over, right? Like, this guy is dead and you're still only like partway up through the river. And I think this is like the worst case scenario, is that they get this play off, right? Sylas gets a shutdown and another kill, and you don't trade anything. You don't get any plates. You don't gank bot. Yeah, I don't know. It just ends up being nothing traded. So you're coming up, but I don't think this is good, to be honest. Like, yeah, you can't even walk through here anyway. Let's see. Is anything gonna happen? Like, yeah, I think just... Yeah, okay. So I think there'd be a couple things here. First, as Syndra, you probably... Like, as Syndra, default to push rather than follow. But, like, if play looks really good, then you can go. Like, you know, if these guys are like 3 people on 1 HP, you know, maybe you can walk up. Or if you notice Sylas is roaming early, like, maybe now you can, like, hard push this wave and look to leave early. But, yeah, I don't think there's really the possibility to do so here. And then second thing is, like, cannon waves are like plate waves, basically, right? Like that, you can always get a lot more on cannon waves. And in fact, like Sylas gets a lot of gold here because he gets Aatrox's shutdown. But if you trade, like, you've denied 1 mid wave already, then you then take 2 plates worth of gold, which is what, like 390 or something? So yeah, so it's like quite a lot of gold. Oh wait, not quite that high. Math is bad. But anyway, you'd like get a pretty significant amount of gold. And you'd take another wave. Like, you're looking at maybe like a 500 gold swing to you if you keep pushing. And that's like, is it as good as like Sylas getting the shutdown? Like, no, it's not quite there. But just trading nothing is, yeah, it's really, really
it's
bad.
detrimental.
Okay, come up, just clear. Come back towards mid. Wait, what happened here? Okay, so like during this time, you really need to be paying attention to that mid wave, right? Because there's a lot of creeps here. So you have time to just run mid here. I kind of understand going for this guy. I think after this, like, just go back to mid. You have like lots of opportunities here to go back to mid, and instead you just like give up a whole wave under your tower. Like, if you're so worried about your CS that you're not even able to ward, why the hell are you giving up like 7 creeps or whatever instead of just, you know, 1? Doesn't really make sense.
I think I was thinking maybe I could stun this dude and we could kill him and get his shutdown. I think that's what I was thinking, but the stun missed. I don't know how it missed. Maybe he like had dash or something.
Yeah. Okay, I kind
But
of get
yeah,
it,
I
I
think
guess,
that's
but
what.
it's pretty big risk to say. Okay, the sun actually connects. Can't really get anything off of it. Okay, so we're just going back to farming, which we're kind of chilling about. Okay, this looks kind of good. And yeah, you can maybe like yoink a kill here. See, I have flash? Oh, he does. Okay, so that's just like 1 HP on the tower for some reason. Okay, nice. So you executed that well. You get the shutdown. Like, that actually brings you back into the game a little bit. So it's definitely still ahead of you, but that's like a really important kill for you to pick up. I think you can maybe even like, yeah, get a lot of damage on the tower. Sylas is still dead. Okay, so that really brought you back in the game. Just a kind of random death out of Sylas. Base, we got Ludens, TP back. Okay, everything's kind of looking good here.
Oh, this is a play I remember my team flaming me for. So my Maokai started like really hard flaming me for not rotating through the river right here, but I told him I couldn't because I placed a ward. Um, it's the play after this, after
Ah,
I
okay,
recall
so
and get
like,
Ludens. Yeah,
like, like
it's when I
this
placed
here.
a ward. Yeah, right here. So I see Sylas and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't walk in here because I think I also saw Rengar. And I was like really scared. I was like, if I walk in here, Rengar can like jump to me in a bush. So I didn't rotate. And then I had pinged my team that they were coming. And then like Jin, my whole team, they're just like
Yeah,
talking shit on me. And I was like so confused. I was like,
nah, I
is it
think
actually my fault?
yeah, no, I think you did the right decision. I think if you walk down this river, there's like a very high chance you die to Rengar and Sylas. There's just not really a way for you to get there. And also, you can trade so much gold here by just taking towers. So, no, I don't think this is your fault at all. Now, if you're stronger, this might not end up happening anyway. You know, like you might have so much control around mid that they never feel like they can leave. But yeah, I don't think this is an issue at all. This is much better than the other one, because at least you trade something this time. Like, when Sylas were on top before and there was no trade at all, that feels, like, really, really bad. But here, like, you get a significant amount of gold out of it, so... Like, you've actually caught up to almost in gold to Sylas. Like, look, you're only 600 down, and if we go to, like... Let's go back here and just, like, kind of look. So, this is before you get the Sylas kill. You're down, what, like, 1600 gold or something here? Then, we get our Sylas kill, which brings us back. Now we're only like 1k gold down. Then, after Sylas goes for this kind of failed roam here, or not failed roam, but after you like trade back the tower. Yeah, so right now, you're down 1000 gold still. After you end up pushing this wave, taking tower, taking another wave. Yeah, like right now, you're actually only down like about 500 gold. So you've actually managed to close it all, which is definitely good. So yeah, 100%. The plays are... The decisions you're making right now are good. It's just kind of you're starting the game from a deficit, which feels bad.
Let's see. Maybe I'm playing the early game a bit too scared.
Yeah, 100%. Nice. Yeah, you executed that really well. Probably just look for base. Go for the Sork Shoes. I like it. Now, this game, I'm not sure why you end up itemizing, but I think you probably do need to go Zhonya's. I think it's... I really hate building Zhonya's, to be honest, because it just does
I
do a lot
agree.
less damage, but this is like, you know, AD champion, Rengar, diving AD champion, and another melee, so like, you could go something here, like, you know, just go Shadow Flame and be like, okay, I'm just going to position really well, like, make sure I'm with my team and never be isolated, but I think it's a little bit easier just to go for Zhonya's this game. Up to you, though. Like, if you really feel confident you don't need it, then you don't have to build it.
Kind of
Okay.
sad I didn't get the Rengar kill here, but
Yeah, no, it's good. You got
happens.
ults out. Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, this is all good. Okay, I do think this is a bit scary. Yeah, this is, like, potentially kind of bad. Okay, yeah, and I think you're staying here a bit too long. So, in the mid-game, right, like, let's talk about mid-game. The most important things, pretty much, you need to kind of be thinking about is, like, one is, like, make sure you keep high on CS/XP, like you really want to just like keep farming essentially, right? Second one is
Yeah.
to make sure you are at like every dragon fight. Those are really important. And a lot of the time, you'll kind of see that the time periods between dragons are pretty much just trying to make yourself stronger. You know, fights outside of the dragons aren't actually that important. So like right here, when you're mid, you need to be thinking like, okay, Aatrox is farming top, and most likely Jhin will come mid next. So what that means is like, if you want to make a play topside, you're going to need to recall and come to this wave eventually. Like you're going to end up in this wave at some point. So when you're like coming towards this, I think it's really, really fucking scary. And actually another thing is to try track your teammates. Because like at this point, right, if you pause and just look at the map, it's like you are walking like very, very aggressively with your Jhin and your Ashe in base. So like there is no help for you here. And you're like, yeah, I don't know. I guess you give up midway, but Jin's gonna get it. They're pushing bot and you're not gonna be able to base in time. And it's like all for a Scion kill, which doesn't even feel that great, right? Like I don't think Scion even really matters here.
Yeah,
Do you
we
get
don't
the
need to get
tower?
the tower kill. We get the tower.
Yeah, it feels bad though. Like you're the one who's just losing so much gold bot. Like look at this. This is just an insane amount of gold. And he gets the 650 from this. So this is super, super avoidable, I think. I think even if you base now, you can still at least save the tower. You're not going to get all the wave, but you will at least save the tower. And yeah, you just end up like giving up so much gold. Because like, how long have you had the CS for? It's like, let's see. Okay, so right here, this is like where you farm your last wave. You've got, okay, 122 CS at 18 minutes. Just watch on 8 times speed. So you've gotten like 1 CS top lane here. You've got 1 CS. And we come mid. Okay, so we spent like a full minute where we basically just get 1 CS during that time. And then we get like 3 more at the end. But
Pretty bad.
yeah, that feels like really, really weird. Not really what you want. Like normally, it's just kind of like the same as early game. Like you want to push and then move. And like your initial play here is honestly kind of fine. Like I can't remember, I think I went a bit too far. But like, yeah, this initial play, I think is not too bad. Like your teammates are in base, so I maybe don't like it that much. But like you have pushed the wave and you're moving. So like that seems fine to me. But you just need to be paying attention to this bot wave. Like you need to make sure at some point you base. Like I'd probably maybe come to this bush so it feels like you're pressuring. And then just start basing. Come towards bot. Or maybe if you really want to make the play, start killing this wave so that like, you know, the wave doesn't end up coming out here. And then maybe you can look for that. And the bonus is you get a little bit of CS, but I think it would be better just to go bot. Yeah, that all ends up kind of rough.
Yeah, I think Sylas getting the tower, I probably agree with you. It was better to go bot and recall. We didn't even kill Sion, so
Yeah.
it wasn't even that good of a play.
Okay, so far this is looking alright. I've stunned pretty soon. I think these guys are all kind of going to die. Ooh, lots of flashes burned. We have stun,
Yeah, that was easy.
Ooh, that's rough. I think this is kind of like, I think,
That was a misplay on my part.
yeah, it's just like really, again, it's like kind of really, really far ahead of your team. So like right now, I think after you guys, you're like chasing aggressively, trying to get them on the way out, this is all like really good. I think any more chase than this though is like kind of scary. Like here, I don't know. I guess like if you want to chase the Sylas, I suppose it's fine, but be aware that like you know, Ashe is recalling, Aatrox is coming out of base, and Maokai's like doing crabs. So anything you do here, it's like up to you. It's like purely on you.
Yeah, it's solo.
Yeah, and then it would be nice. I think Maokai could have blocked this for you. Like you probably could have lived, but at the same time, I really think coming back to like that tracking teammates, you got to be very careful because a lot of the time in solo queue, people are gonna be in the wrong spot, and that means you need to like adapt to them. Like there's like an argument of whether or not Ashe should base here, right? Like maybe Ashe should be coming and clearing out this jungle for you, or you know maybe Aatrox should have already been on the map pressuring, or maybe he could have TP'd earlier, right? But the reality is, all the stuff that's optimal for your teammates, it just doesn't matter. It only matters what's optimal for you, and you need to adapt to like whatever dumb shit your teammates are doing. That's like very, very important. Let's kind of see what happens after this. So you end up dying, but you are going to be able to TP to Dragon when it's up if they go for that. Okay, so your team actually ends up, yeah, losing a lot of people off that. ATP. Nice TP flank. I'm not
I
sure I'd go
died.
that way. Yeah, I think, like, so to start, I think it's fine. But I think if you're going to go somewhere, it has to be up, because you're a bit, like, offside here. And I think maybe you don't want to TP here anyway, because I think you guys want to play towards Dragon. Like, it's probably better just to TP to tower, and then cancel Sion's recall from this side, rather than going that way. But I kind of like the attempt. I just think it's not really... yeah, I don't know. It's just, like, a little misexecuted in my mind.
I agree. I Tell me if like I'm wrong here, but okay, that was a tilt play. I TP'd because I was like, oh man, I really need a kill.
Hmm.
But I think I should have just went bot lane and pushed the wave because it was pretty close to us, and I could have gotten CS, and then the dragon was coming up anyways. So like instead of TPing, I could have went bot. Do you think that might have would have been better?
Yeah, I think both bot or mid are good. Like, mid can be good because your ADC is dead, so you're going to get farm, and having mid priority before the dragon is really important. But yeah, at the same time, like, there is this giant bot wave. Honestly, if you went for either of these, I'd be pretty happy with it. I think going there is kind of just ends up as, like, the worst option of them all. Okay, we'll look back. So we get the Sylas. Ult gets wasted, but it's, like, probably fine. This guy is very, very low. Oh
I
my
missed
god.
every ability.
Okay, let's kind of see. So I think... And yeah, I guess the biggest problem here is the ult being wasted. Also think the combo here is like a little weird. Like, not every time, but most of the time in team fights, especially versus melees, like, I'll make a little Syndra specific here, but most team fights you want to use like the R-E combo, you know? Like, you want to like get a bunch of balls on the ground and then get a really wide stun. I'd say like most of the time, like most of the time for team fights, because it's gonna give you like a lot of damage, and it's also like, yeah, really guaranteed CC. So like right here I'd probably be thinking like I'd probably like, yeah, walk up, ult Sylas, and then like E off of that, because like the E ends up missing the Sylas anyway. And also your E kind of gets eaten by the Sylas or Sion ult there. So I think, you know, obviously you end up missing abilities at the end, and you are just really weak, right? Like if you're a little bit stronger, because actually look at this, you have 186 AP at 22 minutes. Like you are just very, very far behind.
Yeah.
And there's honestly maybe an argument for building Leandries this game instead of Ludens. Because like while you are kind of the solo AP, there's also like a health stacking mid and a health stacking top. So Leandries could even be a bit better this game. I think it's close enough that it probably doesn't matter too much. But yeah, I guess it would have mattered in that situation.
Um, so you mentioned that you could use a R,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
And then E.
yeah.
Is that actually still worth it considering that um Syndra's R executes people?
Yeah, I think it's still worth it. Like, I mean, it does depend on the situation, right? Like, if you're trying to kill a squishy, you probably want to, you know, go for a long range stun and then follow up with like flash ult or something. But it's like in most team fights, the value you're gonna get out of just having like a lane wide stun, you know, like especially if you end up in a dragon fight where there's like one team up here and one team down here, just like having 5 balls on the ground and stunning off of it, it ends up just like stunning their whole team, and you get this slow after as well. So like, sure, even though it executes, it's like the amount of CC you can put out is, I think it's worth it. See, we're going bot, but a fight broke out, so you come mid. Yeah, I like opening with a stun there. Yeah, this is fine so far. No problems really. This guy's gonna die. Ult for the shutdown. I like that. I would probably do that as well.
I gotta execute.
Yeah. Oh, what the fuck? Where did this
I
guy come
died at
from?
Rengar.
Okay, actually, so you saw Rengar top side. Yeah, and then he just ult.
Yeah, I
Okay.
did.
Yeah, that was pretty
And
greedy then. I guess maybe like in the moment you didn't actually see, because like you were fighting here. But I think especially after you get like the notification that Rengar's like taking your top tower, you probably need to be a little careful walking into there.
I'll be completely honest. I knew Rengar was there. The thought process in my head was maybe he wouldn't ulti
Yeah.
so soon, and I could catch him while my team was like doing Baron, and then I could burst him so he wouldn't steal it. But then he just ulted and killed me.
Yeah, because I think this is probably just this should be Baron for your team if you don't die here, and like yeah, because like you die and then now your team feels like they need to get off it, and honestly, your team might be able to still do it here because sure you died, but you did get Rengar's ult and they don't really have anything, but like regardless of what should happen, this is what did happen, and it's definitely not good. Like I think that would be Baron, and now you guys would be kind of back in the game, but you end up dying. And now I think they're going to be the ones picking up Baron. Okay, yeah, like that actually just completely fucks the game. I think yeah. Now they're going to be so far ahead. Just kind of...
I'm surprised my team stayed there for that long after that, though.
Yeah, I mean, 100% they probably shouldn't, but... Yeah, I don't know, it's always like really hard in solo queue because it's like, you know, it's not really your fault, but at the same time, if you'd played better, it probably wouldn't have happened, you know? It's like, yeah, they shouldn't be there, but it was kind of like a domino effect based on the mistake you made. And that's really common in solo queue, by the way, is people like, there's a lot of like chain inting or like one mistake leading to another. So if you can like avoid that first mistake, it'll just like feel so much easier. Okay, they execute again. Does feel pretty good. How much health does that guy have, by the way? 5.4, holy fuck.
Yeah, I've been saving it for executes from Sion since he's so tanky. And we don't really have like a character that can like, kind of burn through all that health.
Okay, so it's stunned. Maokai peels you, which is good. It's 4th drag, and it's really hard to contest. I mean, yeah, I think you guys kind of have to. I actually kind of like the way it's starting. Okay, you have ult here in 2 seconds. Yeah, I do think the positioning was kind of bad in this fight. I think most of the team fights so far, your positioning has been good. But just like in general in team fights with Syndra, like you're trying to like position behind your front line. So the two people you're thinking about here are Maokai and Aatrox. And you don't want to end up split from both of them. Like as long as you have one of them, it should be fine. So as soon as this Maokai ult starts, I think right now, you probably want to go this way. Because that way, like, you can guarantee get behind Aatrox. And you don't have to just be, like, too squishy standing alone here. Because, like, yeah, actually what ends up happening is you're, like, TP'd on, you're collapsed on by Sylas. I think if you're up here dealing damage, the fight is, like, so easy. Okay, yeah, you just, like, end up dying, right? Okay, you do trade one. But yeah, this is, like, a big positioning error. So just be, like, really conscious of where your front line is and try and get behind them. Because even here, like, now you're just sort of fucked, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh man, I'm forced to flash.
Yeah, that does feel pretty bad. Okay, that all gets cleaned up. Yeah, and I think now the game is, like... I mean, actually, you guys got the dragon, but, like, anything that happens now, in my mind, it's like, we can look at it and maybe improve on it, but the reality is, there's been 28 minutes of gameplay before this, and this part of the game doesn't matter too much. I always say that, like, in a way, your first death is more important than, like, the 5 deaths that come after it, you know? Because it's like that first death will help lead to more deaths later on. And so if you can, like, look back and avoid the first one, have, like, a really solid early game, you will just find that a lot of the shit that's happened to you this game probably just won't happen, you know? And, like, having a clean early game is so important.
Yeah, this I just get caught.
Yeah, I don't really care about stuff like this, honestly. I really don't think... Like, sure, that it's, like, annoying, but how often is this shit gonna happen? I don't think it happens that often. It's really, like, you want to be working on stuff that's always gonna show up. Stuff like your CS thing, you know, your laning, your team fighting. Those are always gonna be in the game. I think, you know, we can talk about respecting engage tools and stuff. And it will be important in some games, but a lot of games it won't be as well. Nice stun. Get 2 kills. Just kind of skim through the rest of this, and I think it's, yeah, pretty GG'd.
Yeah, the rest of this is just kind of, I think they get Baron is just like kind of running this.
Okay, yeah, I mean it's over, right? Okay. So, I think the good news is, it's very clear for you on what you need to work on. And I also think that for the most part, your team fighting was decent. So, that's like that's pretty good because what that means is like if you get a cleaner early game, if you get more CS in the mid game, you should have no trouble actually transitioning that to a win. Like a lot of people, they have like very poor team fighting, but they might have good laning. So even if they start the game, 3-0, they kind of fail to close it out. And I think that feels very frustrating as well, right? But fortunately, I don't think that's going to be something you run into. But let's talk about what to work on. First thing, rune search itemization. I think that's just like very easy to fix, and it's going to go not a long way, but it's going to do something. And then I think as a whole, early game needs to be improved a lot. So I think like cooldowns, like both punishing and respecting. Actually, like early game, honestly, yeah, it's like cooldowns. I think your wave control, like playing more aggro. I think another thing would maybe be like warding and hugging, like where you actually like placing your wards and actually making sure you're hugging to the correct side. Um, yeah, and also like being careful how far you push up. I also think like the way you punish roams. It was just that one roam where like you had the cannon wave. I think all this stuff, if you clean it up, will just feel so much better. And I will, if I remember, I will try find you a Syndra vs Sylas VOD that I think is like accurate based on the matchup. I do have to go somewhere after this session, but what I'll do is I'll upload it, and then when I go to upload it, I'll try find you a VOD and link it to you, and you'll see there'll just be such a huge difference in how the early game plays out. And then in the mid game, I would say it's more stuff like, yeah, there's another huge list. Like tracking your teammates, I think is very important. Like try not to make solo plays. I think in team fights, just like, I want to say like your team fights are decent, but just like more consistency with your positioning. Like for the most part, you played it well, but the problem is if you want to carry games, you need to be, always positioning well, not just like positioning well most of the time. And I think really, make sure you keep farming. Like you need to have like a little more side laning than you're doing right now, at least to pick up the waves. You don't have to split push on Syndra, but at least pick up the waves. And I guess like maybe just some other sort of like random stuff here is like really try not to waste cooldowns. I think that's like super, super important. And like, especially E cooldown, like you have to be super fucking respectful. Even if you get like a good QE, that's like 14 seconds at that point, I think it was. Like when you QE'd that Sylas, you had a bit of CDR. I think Syndra's
Mhm.
base CD on E is 17. But yeah, like that's a long time you have to be respectful, right? Oh, actually, that's another thing I'm gonna write is like to do with cooldowns, like look up your opponent in loading screen, and I really think having an idea of which cooldown is important will go a long way. So I think yeah, that's pretty much it. Do you have any questions about anything?
Um, no, I mean, honestly, not really. I think everything I had questions for, I asked
Yeah.
like throughout the thing. Also, I'm sorry if it sounded like I was like interrupting you. I wasn't. It's just like
No,
it
you're
comes to my
good.
head,
No, I
and
welcome the
yeah, I want to say,
questions. I think it's really important to ask questions actually, because sometimes I do kind of feel like I'm talking to myself and I'm not actually sure if the other person understands or not. But yeah, no, so I'm definitely down for that.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, just send me the Silas matchup because I mean, I will say that like in when I play Syndra and the other control mages, let's say like Victor,
mhm.
Annie, maybe not like Xerath. Xerath is kind of hard to be honest for me. Yeah, like Vex or something. I'm actually quite comfortable, but for some reason, everyone always tells me like, yeah, you're supposed to win like the melee matchups, like the Katarinas and the Silases, but I always feel like a bit scared because I know if I do like Fizz, for example, too, um, if I make a mistake, uh, I'll just lose the trade,
Yeah,
and
Fizz
then
is a
and then
bit
I
more
get
difficult, I would say, but still winnable. But yeah, okay, I'll find you one, and it should be a pretty good example of it, I hope.
okay.
Okay.
Other than that, nothing really. Just there's a lot of notes here.
Yeah.
Could you zoom out so I could like take a picture of
Oh,
this
I
or
sent it
something?
to you on Discord, but you can take a screenshot if you'd
Oh,
like.
okay, yeah, that's fine.
All right, sweet. Well, yeah, I'll upload it. I'll send it to you a little bit later. And then if you have questions at that point, feel free to just like message me whenever. And if I don't send you the Silas VOD, by the way, just remind me, because I'll probably just like on sidetrack with something else, but I'll try to remember.
Okay,
All right, sweet. Well, nice to talk to you. I think it was a productive session. So if you don't mind, I will upload it. I think it'll be pretty helpful for people.
yeah, go ahead.
All right, sweet. Well, good luck, and I'll see you next time, I guess.
Yep. Good luck with whatever you end up doing.
All right.
Have fun, I guess.
Yeah, I will. All right. See you later.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Thanks.